When was the last time you went to a supermarket? Perhaps today, or perhaps it was yesterday if you finished work and walked in feeling tired, looking at the prices and silently doing the math in your head. And maybe while holding a piece of fruit in your hand, you asked yourself, why has life become a constant need to do something in order to deserve something in return? I imagine that many mornings, the alarm on your phone wakes you up. You open your eyes, still tired. Your body asks for a few more minutes, but you have to get up. And perhaps while you are getting ready, you ask yourself, why? Who invented work? Who decided that I have to constantly prove that I deserve to eat, to rest, to have a home, or to feel that I am worth something? Because deep inside, perhaps you also feel that life was never meant to work this way. Perhaps you feel, as I do, that life should be about sharing, receiving together, supporting one another, helping the elderly, the sick, and those who no longer have the strength they need to sustain themselves within this density. Because a person never loses their value when they lose their strength. A person should never have to prove that they deserve to exist. I have said this many times before. When I see the fruit inside supermarkets, so perfect, so shiny, and so similar to one another, I ask myself, what kind of tree did these apples come from? What kind of tree did these tiny avocados, almost the size of lemons, come from? I remember the Catalina avocados from my childhood. They were enormous. Some of them were the size of a large hand.
Has anybody noticed that the birds, the deers, raccoons, they will not eat grocery store vegetables anymore? Like I put out 3 cans of tuna for the feral cats that live in my neighborhood 3 days ago. They haven't touched it. These are hungry cats. They won't eat this tuna. I went out there after putting grapes that I got from a major retailer, starts with a K. I don't want TikTok to come after me. I put celery, grapes, and some green pepper and broccoli that I let sit in my crisper too long. I took it out there. It's still sitting out there. I've seen the birds pick at it and they didn't want it. I've seen the deer walk right over top of it. I've literally got peaches out there that I got from another big box store. Everything I have bought from Aldi under the organic section, if I put it out there, the animals, they go right after it.
And then I ask myself again, at what point did we begin to accept as normal that everything born freely from the earth must first pass through a label, a classification, and a price? The fruit falls through its own weight. The tree gives its fruit. The fruit is there for you, exactly as it is, with its irregular shape, with a blemish, with one side more mature than the other, because what truly matters is its aroma, its flavor, its vitamins, and its minerals, at least while we continue living inside a body, still anchored to the frequency of hunger and need, a body connected to a stomach that hurts when it lacks food, a body with a large intestine and a small intestine, a body that requires maintenance every single day. And I imagine that at some point you have also asked yourself the same questions my husband and I have asked. Who invented money? Who decided how much everything is worth? Who turned food, shelter, and rest into rewards? And who invented the idea that one person should have to work for someone else during most of their life simply in order to keep living? Perhaps you have felt it too.
Blink, $25. Walk out of your apartment, 50. Day in the life, 100. Weekend, 400. I can't survive. What is the cost of life?
I want to hear an economic breakdown of what's going to happen when boomers start going into assisted living facilities, because people are living longer. They're eating through more of their savings. Boomers have shown they aren't going to leave a ton for inheritance, and for assisted living and memory care, that's very expensive. And so I feel like inheritances are going to continue to go down, down, down. And then on top of that, they aren't perishing in their homes anymore. They're usually selling their home to downsize or selling their home to go into these assisted living facilities. So people aren't really inheriting real estate. I feel like the inherited wealth cycle is being interrupted in a really huge way. There's going to be a huge wealth transfer from boomers to these corporations. They are corporations that run and invest and expand on these assisted care facilities. And so now children are not inheriting what they used to. And obviously, like, it is the parents' money to spend how they will, how they wish. I'm not saying it's, right or wrong, but it's definitely going to shape the economic landscape? And I would love to see research on that. What is that going to look like when you're not inheriting a house and $200,000? You're inheriting, $5,000, if that, or maybe you even have to pay because your parents ran out of money. Like my great grandmother, she went through multiple strokes. She died at 96 and they had to turn her regularly so she didn't get bed sores. Zero quality of life, but dang, those bills still came in and our family had to cover it. I don't know. It's really interesting. And I think it's going to change a lot when these boomers start getting into that zone. I don't know. What do y'all think?
In Spanish, we have a very familiar expression. Money slips away like water through your hands. Have you ever felt that? You work so many hours, day after day, only to give almost everything you earned back to the machinery of consumption by the end of the month. As quickly as it arrived, it disappeared. It is like watching the waves from the shore. They come, they touch the sand, and then they return to the sea. That is what happens with money. It reaches your hands and immediately begins to vanish. Housing, electricity, food, transportation, insurance, debt, unexpected repairs. Then you return to work to recover what you just gave away. And afterward, you give it away again. It is a cycle, an illusion of movement that keeps us trapped inside dependency. But there is something even deeper. A shadow, a silent companion that has taken a seat beside us in our everyday lives. Do you know who I am talking about? Fear and insecurity. The fear of losing your job. The insecurity of becoming ill. The fear of receiving the news that your car has broken down. The fear of opening a letter, a bill, or a message and discovering another expense you never expected. And now people are also talking about cars becoming increasingly directed and controlled through artificial intelligence. But everyone points at artificial intelligence, and I ask, who is behind it? Who designs the rules? Who makes the decisions? Because artificial intelligence carries out what someone programmed, allowed, or decided.
Is European cars now must track drivers' eye movement in the name of safety. European cars now must track drivers' eye movement in the name of safety. So imagine you're driving a car and there's a camera that's watching you to see if you're falling asleep or not. Or maybe you're on your phone.
And where's it going? And where's
this report goes to them. It became mandatory on Tuesday.
What?
For citizens of the EU's 27 member states to allow their cars to track their movements using AI. The European Union's general safety regulation mandated advanced driver distraction warning systems that track drivers' body movements, such as eye and head movements, in every new vehicle sold after July 7, according to Access Newswire.
Simply in order to keep living? Perhaps you have felt it too. Perhaps you have stood at a supermarket checkout looking at the total and felt something inside you say, life was never meant to be this. So the true companion of everyday life has become fear, and the insecurity of feeling that at any moment someone could pull the ground out from under your feet. Do you know what it feels like to lose the ground beneath you? You fall. But you do not simply fall onto the floor. You fall into an abyss. Because when the ground disappears, direction disappears with it. Suddenly you have nowhere solid to place your feet. And all you try to do is hold on. Hold on to the job. Hold on to the salary. Hold on to a relationship. Hold on to a debt that allows you to keep a home, a car, or the appearance of stability. That is why I say this systemic way of living feels so much like a swamp. The society we are living in, like ever since someone decided to invent money, compulsory work, dependency, and the power of some people over others. Some decide what everyone else must do, when they must wake up, when they are allowed to rest, how much their time is worth, how much their home is worth, how much food is worth, how much even their own life is worth. Everything looks like a children's circle directed by someone holding a baton, as though someone were conducting an orchestra. But I ask, where is the music? Because this feels like an orchestra without music. An orchestra full of orders, movement, and noise, but completely devoid of harmony. And even so, we still hear people say that we must value money, respect it, and give it an important place in our lives. I remember a sentence spoken by someone whom each person carries differently within their heart. Someone said, "No one can serve two masters." You and I know which story that sentence belongs to. It was said that no one could serve both God and money. But today I would express it differently. No one can serve both money and transparent truth at the same time, because transparent truth reveals everything. It reveals dependency, it reveals fear, it reveals the hidden price behind every appearance of comfort. And I feel a bell resonating inside me, the bell of liberation. And speaking of bells, have you noticed how many videos today speak about the reset? About wiping everything clean and starting again? Although many times the account receives a new name while the dependency remains untouched. Those who come afterward inherit the same program. According to the history we have been told about this place, humanity has passed through countless resets. Bell resets, flood resets, mud resets, city resets, memory resets, reset after reset after reset. And as you look to the right and then to the left, you also encounter stories about presences and entities that entered this place and behaved parasitically. But today, many people use the word reset for something much closer to us.
People on TikTok are starting to realize that food is getting fake. It started when someone posted the video of their Hershey's chocolate bar not melting even in really high heat, causing people to quickly point out that Hershey recently changed their formula, which is something even the founder of Reese's called out, since Hershey's is making their chocolate. Now, people are saying that chocolate doesn't feel real anymore, to the point that it's made out of just oils and chemicals to taste like chocolate, since they no longer use cocoa. But what's even worse is that people are noticing changes in other foods like bread, saying a lot of store-bought bread has been way more spongy. And when you put it in water, it doesn't even dissolve like normal bread should. Because of this, people everywhere started testing this. And people in other countries are even comparing their bread to American bread, saying something is seriously off with food in America.
They look at a bar of chocolate and ask, is this really chocolate? Or am I eating an imitation? They look at vanilla ice cream and ask, how much real vanilla does this contain? How many preservatives are inside it? Why does it take so long to melt? Since when does ice cream remain intact for so long? They look at a packet of cookies and ask, how many ingredients are here that we would never recognize inside a kitchen? Is this food, or is it an industrial representation of food? We have reached a point where many people can no longer tell what is real and what is imitation. What is fruit and what is product? What is aroma and what is artificial fragrance? What is food and what is a formula designed to resemble food? Many people call this manipulation. I might call it the new reset. The reset of food, the reset of flavor, the reset of nature, the reset of everything that enters our bodies every single day. But before that reset, there's another one that is far deeper. The most important reset of all, the one almost everyone has forgotten, and yet it is right in front of our eyes, right there, waiting for us to look. The worst reset of all is erasing who you are from the very beginning. It is making you forget. It is giving you a new identity and making you believe that you have always been what you see reflected in the mirror. The worst reset is forgetting where you came from, forgetting your true expression, forgetting that in the middle of darkness, the only true light is the one that turns on from within, from your own breath, from the moment you decide to look inward, to focus on yourself, to lower the voices of the world around you, and simply place your hand over the beating of your heart so you can feel which direction leads you back toward true freedom. That is the worst reset of all, division. Being divided as though you were a cake cut into pieces. Being fragmented and then made to believe that living divided is normal. Being conditioned until you believe that depending on someone else is normal, that begging for love is normal, that feeling hunger and struggling every day to fill a stomach is normal. But today I ask you, since when did light need a stomach to fill? Today I want my freedom back. Today I want to begin freeing myself from this very moment. I am done waiting for someone to come and liberate me. Because true freedom is independent of waiting, and waiting when it becomes dependency eventually turns into despair. Waiting means remaining there, staring toward the horizon, expecting the arrival of someone who may never come, waiting for someone else to find you, to recognize you, to discover you, to tell you who you are. Today, I want to stop worshiping the swamp. Some people tell me, you have to study the swamp in order to understand where you are. And I ask, why do I need to graduate from the University of the Swamp? Why do I need a diploma proving that I know every corner of the prison before I begin looking for the exit? Studying the swamp forever may eventually turn me into its own reflection. It may absorb my attention, my energy, my perception, and make me forget what I wanted to remember from the very beginning. Transparency, truth, my true origin, who I am beyond everything I was taught. I never want to depend on someone else coming to tell me who I am. I want to remember it by myself. Because who can guarantee that the person explaining my origin is telling me the truth? Who can guarantee that this new teacher, this new guide, or this new authority is not placing another identity over me? When you depend on someone else to know who you are, the bitter aftertaste of dependency always remains. That is why today I rise in the name of freedom. And I say, I want change, but more than change, I want to leave the swamp of density. And in order to leave the swamp of density, the first thing is to understand that you were never the swamp. You were never the mud that tried to cover you. You were never the cage that imprisoned you. And you never need to worship what keeps you in captivity. Freedom begins when you stop identifying with the prison. When you withdraw your attention from the bars, when you stop waiting for a savior, when you breathe, when you listen, when you remember, and when the light begins once again to turn on from within. Do you know how I began preparing this video? I wanted to talk about the Anunnaki. I wanted to talk about the Greys. I wanted to talk about the dragons of the past, the giants, and all those ancient stories. But suddenly, I began to feel as though a fog had entered my mind. I felt my joy disappearing. The joy of playing my tongue drum. The joy of playing my kalimba. The joy of simply enjoying my rattles while the wind slips gently through the window. And I realized that I was making a mistake. That is why I changed the entire direction of this video. Because immersing myself in the past means remaining anchored to the past. Like a boat tied to the harbor, dreaming of seeing itself among the waves while knowing that the anchor still holds it close to the shore. It dreams about freedom, but it remains tied to the port. And then I remembered my friend Mayinka. I hope he is well, because many people say that he disappeared. Perhaps he left with the woman who transformed into light. Who knows? But his teaching remains with me today. Mayinka once told me something that I now want to share with you. And perhaps when you hear it, you will understand why I stopped talking about the Anunnaki. Why I stopped talking about the Elohim, why I stopped talking about giants, why I stopped talking about fallen angels, why I stopped talking about the firmament, why I stopped talking about everything that steals my attention away from freedom. Because when you continuously speak about something, you remain within the vibration carried by those words. Nobody teaches you this in a book. Nobody teaches you this in school. You remember it when you begin remembering the true light that you are. When you remember your true nature, the nature that floats, the nature that breathes light, the nature that knows you were never created merely to eat, to cry, to accumulate debt, or to depend upon someone else. Light was never created to wait for the day when a heart stops beating. Light was never created to end inside a carbon body reduced to ashes or buried beneath the ground. Today, I want to change the direction of my life. Today, I reclaim my freedom. Today, I reclaim my independence. I want to see this place free from parasitic forces and controlling entities. I want to see this place free. But even more than that, I want to see innocence smiling again. I want to see children living in orphanages with hope shining across their faces. I want to see elderly people who have been left alone in care homes smiling again. I want to see every innocent being remembered, embraced, and protected. And I want to see every body that exists transformed into a ray of light. That was never too much to ask. It is simply the remembrance that you deserve to be free. And now, once again, I will share the words of my friend Mayinka. Perhaps then you will understand why, from this moment forward, you will no longer hear on this channel the same names and words that everyone continues repeating across the internet. Subscribe to this channel. Subscribe if you, like me, have decided to become free. Free and sovereign from this very moment, in the name of transparent truth. Remove the focus of your attention from it and let it consume itself in the ignorance of being ignored by you.
I am Leah Luz. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here with me. Subscribe, press the like button, and please help me so that the algorithm carry this message to everyone who needs a gentle breath of calm, serenity, and hope. Come back, come back. I will be here waiting for you. May the light of transparent truth protect you and shine radiantly within you and around you. Bye. Subscribe, subscribe. Thank you for being here. Thank you.